very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch powered by HSBC. I'm Priya Sheikh. Joining me on this conversation is Sandeep Gudibanda from HealthPlix Technologies. Thank you very much, Sandeep, for joining us today. Health has become the need of the hour, and we've seen so many interesting models emerge with this pandemic. Tell us a little bit about the kind of growth and traction that you've seen over the last couple of months.
Hey, Priya. So, thanks. My pleasure being on the show. So, health tech always had to improve in India, right? We consider looking at what happens globally versus where India was. This always had to improve, and then there was an opportunity for us to go big on it. But of course, post-pandemic, I think things have changed in manners in which we have not seen before. All the stakeholders are quite open about doing going digital on healthcare, right? Whether it is doctors or patients or hospitals or pharmaceutical firms, insurance firms, etc., right? So all of them are looking at this opportunity as golden era for Indian startups and Indian healthcare itself in terms of driving outcomes, right? More importantly than any other, but to access as well, right? So the access of healthcare to patients, and then once it's available, driving outcomes is where people are looking at driving this year.
Right. What kind of growth have you been seeing over the last couple of months, and what's the roadmap for this year?
So it's been fantastic for HealthPlix per se. So we have grown 4x in terms of number of doctors that we onboard onto the platform, right? So that's been phenomenal. Today, I think roughly around, even with all the growth that you have seen, only about 3.5% of all the doctors in the country are on digital platform, and bulk of it has been driven by HealthPlix. So our goal is to take this to from where we are 3.5%, 4% to 100%, right? Only then we will be able to drive health outcomes. But just looking at 2021, I think we've been pretty proud and happy that we have scaled at 4x both in terms of doctors and revenue. So that's there. But more importantly, I think one of the things that we've been able to do is create this ecosystem where multiple stakeholders can talk to HealthPlix doctors, HealthPlix patients, as if an app provider would do to customers on mobile through an Android API, right? So that's one of the things that we have begun to build in the last 1 year. We call that as Android of healthcare within HealthPlix. So pretty much we have done all the hard work in terms of getting doctors and patients onto the platform. Tomorrow, if a diagnostics firms want to sell a product to a doctor, med devices firm, or diagnostics firm want to do lab tests for the patients, they can just do through an API through HealthPlix, right? So things can become faster, things can become more accessible. What we are trying to do through this is the entire loop is being closed, right? So I think the seeds are sown last year for this kind of ecosystem, not just by HealthPlix, but various stakeholders within HealthPlix itself. So that's very exciting.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the key metrics that you'll be tracking going forward in terms of the kind of growth that you've seen. What would be the key metrics of success according to you?
See, the thing is, before I answer that question, Priya, we look at why HealthPlix began, right? So we began because we wanted to drive health outcomes at a population level, right? So when I say drive health outcomes, is there are various reasons why health outcomes in the country is not so great, right? It could be medical errors, it could be access, it could be information not being available at the same time. It could be delayed diagnosis, so on and so forth, right? So what matters to HealthPlix as a firm is driving health outcomes at a population level, right? So there are two ways to do it. One is through the patients directly, or through doctors and then through them to patients. So we took the second route, right? We said doctors will be our champions. They are our ambassadors. Patients listen to them day in and day out. So going through doctors to drive health outcomes matters to us a lot more, right? So we actually treat doctors as superheroes like Batman, and we call ourselves like a Robin, right? So you will see this as a consistent theme in everything that we do, and hence at the metrics that we track as well. So the most important metric at HealthPlix is number of consultations that we do on a daily basis, right? Why is it important? Because it allows us to measure how deep is our reach to the patients, right? So these, and every consultation is about 2 minutes roughly, Priya. So what a doctor can do in those 2 minutes to improve health outcomes is essentially what we can influence as well, right? So that's why it's the most important metric that we follow, and that has grown like about 2.5 to 3x year on year for us.
Right. In terms of revenue and funding, are you looking at any more funding going forward, considering the kind of growth plans that you have?
So it's been a pretty good year in terms of revenue for us. We've grown there as well, and we've raised money from Lightspeed last year. So we actually sit on good amount of funding that we have gotten, and then there is revenue that is happening, and then we are also the contribution margins in the various verticals that we have is pretty high, right? So we could grow responsibly, profitably for a long time. But of course, having said that, we're not trying to raise funds yet, but there is a lot of inbound interest, right? Given that the healthcare sector has become very hot and HealthPlix itself has been growing, there's inbound interest. We look to see how whether we grow responsibly, grow profitably. That's one way, but the other one is we can be aggressive and fast. So that call is yet to take, but we don't necessarily need the funds right now.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the kind of, short to medium term plans in terms of expanding adjacencies on the platform. Will you be adding more, aspects in terms of adjacencies?
See, I spoke about the Android of healthcare bit, right, Priya? So it's all about adjacencies. So if you look at our key customers are doctors, and through them we reach out to patients, right? So our belief is that the EMR adoption in the country will be very, very high only if we make it very, very affordable, right? So to an extent that we believe that it should be free for doctors and patients. So when that happens, when your core customer is using the platform for free, that means your business model needs to happen. It needs to be built by looking at various stakeholders. So all of these things, we believe once we get doctors and patients onto a platform, we will be able to enhance the efficiency with which these stakeholders play, whether it is pharmaceutical firms or med devices or insurance sector, as I spoke about earlier, right? So today we are unlocking one by one. We have already disrupted the way the pharma firms sort of reach out to doctors, educate them on various diseases and various new things that are happening. So that has been disrupted, and we love the way the disruption is going there. So similarly, we are trying to do for insurance this year. We are trying to do for diagnostics and med devices. So all of these people coming in the way, coming in a manner in which it's a closed loop. Doctor prescribes something to a patient based on what the patient is saying, and instantly that med device needs to be available for patient to buy, right? And if the patient has bought that, let's say it's wearable or a med devices, day after day, as his vitals are flowing into the med devices and then the app of that, it should come back to the EMR as well, and doctor should look at it real time and respond, right? Some of these things can be automated. So we are trying to build this ecosystem. These are adjacencies per se, but it is core to the way in which we are building the ecosystem itself.
All right. Thank you very much, Sandeep, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time.